welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, a word first about our Parish Feast Day, Most Sacred Heart. It's this coming Friday now. It falls on the Friday after the second Sunday after Pentecost, which is always the seventh Sunday after Easter, which is held on the first Sunday after the first full moon occurring on or after the vernal equinox. Of course, you knew that. In any case, there are several things we will do that day and a number of opportunities online. Email blast our webpage. So may God bless this parish and continue to work in us and through us. And speaking of our webpage, we now have the opportunity to receive an email about a parishioner's death. Right? So we're not going to only folks from the parish who died, but we want people to opt in. And if you don't already get the email blast, go to our homepage. At the bottom, there's this black box where you just enter your email address, and then you'll get our email blasts each week. Or not each week, we don't have one this week, but you can also opt in there. It's just so we get the family's permission, and it's just one way to be, praying for each other. Now, this weekend we have our women's retreat. I'm excited about it. It's a good process. The gals are brave to sign up, right? As are the guys for next week, and there's a few more spaces for that. And I'm really grateful to the team who's worked so hard. So please pray that God just works in many ways, right? Among us and through us and in us and around us. And now, this homily. So, two things. I mentioned last week that I feel a little more wedded to my notes than I like when I do the pre-recorded version, because it's really just hot off the presses, so to speak. So I appreciate that you can just roll with that, right? This weekend, I'm going to be trying to make the distinction between what I preach in person when I say here, but you're not here in my office right now. So if I stumble on that, you'll just translate it as works best for you. So it's the feast of the body and blood of Christ. Well, the gospel question is, do you see any value in Sunday Mass? I mean, online or in person, what is it in you that sees some value? Again, thanks for being here. Online, I meant. Our online masses at Most Sacred Heart have proven to be a real blessing for a lot of folks. I mean, some have been so grateful, for example, that they could pray with us when they couldn't get in town for the funeral of a loved one or for the wedding of a friend. A number of people have said how much they appreciate being able to pray with us when they are homebound or hospitalized or helping a family member or neighbor in need of some kind, or whatever made it almost impossible to attend in person. I know that after my surgery, I was grateful that I was able to pray with the folks at Most Sacred Heart online that way. And if anyone prays with us online for any reason, I always want to say thank you for joining us, and that they might not realize it, but they're not physically there, but we're still really deeply connected, profoundly across the miles. And Father Leo and I thank everyone who worked so hard to make sure we have such good quality in our online presence. Now, we began that effort in earnest when the pandemic was at its peak, killing, just in the U.S., 3,000 to 4,000 people a day, and churches were closed. Now, those kind of pandemic shutdown days were rough for many of us. And for me, one of the things I missed the most was Sunday Mass with all the folks here. And during tough times, one of the things that always helps me is laughing. And during that time, at least I did hear some pretty funny comments about online masses from parishioners during that time. For example, one mom emailed how tough it was to get her kids to behave during online masses. And when we were getting ready to open church again, she sent the email saying, "When I come back to church, even without my kids, will it be frowned upon if, merely out of habit, in the middle of Mass, I happen to accidentally yell, 'Would everyone just shut up?' Because that might have been happening at our house these last few weeks." Kidding, not kidding. Okay. Now, I love it. A different parishioner who just really likes to enjoy life said this about praying online masses with us: "Each time you take communion, I eat chocolate." Now, in addition to those things about online masses that make me laugh, there was a number of things that also really moved me when people said what they missed about being at Mass in person. Here are just 3 of them. One person said, "The thing I found myself missing most was the community. I don't know a ton of people at church, but I know that I am welcome and loved there. And everybody needs a place where they know that they are safe and that they belong." One man said, "Oh, I took so much for granted." And often it was the little things. Seeing that same older man genuflecting until his right knee hits the floor, and then seeing him painfully get up. Seeing others at Mass and knowing that despite our doubts, we're part of a 2,000-year-old tradition. A third person said, "What I miss most is taking communion. I know it sounds obvious, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. I can hardly watch an online Mass without crying when the priest takes communion." I heard a number of things like that. And on this feast of the body and blood of Christ, all of that brings us to the question, why do we pray Sunday Mass? I mean, why do you? Why do I? I know that there are a number of different things that lead each of us to pray at Mass on any given Sunday. And it's often a combination of things that we don't even always name for ourselves or aren't even fully aware of, right? Maybe it's partly what we just learned growing up. It's in us to do so. Or maybe we've come to know that it's important to be thankful and to practice being thankful, right? Or perhaps we find blessings in a church home where we know that we are safe. Or, I don't know, like the folks I just mentioned, that we also need communion, or we're moved by different things at different times, or just find some sort of unnamed energy in us that leads us here. And I'm sure there's other things as well. For myself, I'd answer all of it by summarizing it this way. Why am I here? Some part of me knows that I need it. There is a part of me, and sometimes I'm aware of it and sometimes I'm not, that knows that I need Sunday Mass. I need a Sabbath day, a day a little bit different than the others. And I know that often enough I will hear something in the scriptures that guides me or comforts me or encourages me. I trust that when I eat the bread that has become Christ's body or drink the cup that has become his blood, I will be somehow strengthened for what love will ask of me. And I know that I know that I know that I truly need other believers with whom to believe. I know that. Now, please understand that just because I'm a priest, I don't have it in me to fully pay attention to each part of the Mass. Sometimes my mind wanders, or I'm practicing my homily in my head, or noticing my sciatica pain, which annoys me, or thinking, oh, I want to follow up with that person there about something after Mass, or I don't know, whatever. And it probably would be good if I more thoroughly were listening to the scriptures, or being aware of what each part of the Mass invites. And it's okay that I can't do that all the time. It really is. But this is true. There is some part of me where I know that I need Eucharist. I need to sit before the scriptures. I am blessed to take communion to strengthen me for love. And I am profoundly supported by the congregation, by other believers gathered, because people's presence, online or in person, makes more of a difference to me than you could know. And back to that one mom when we reopened in-person Masses at church again. Fortunately, the first time and since she's come back, she did keep herself from accidentally yelling out loud in the middle of Mass, and I commended her for that. Mostly, I thanked her for just knowing that some part of her needed to be there. And I told her that her presence makes a difference for me as well. Whatever combination of things that lead you to Sunday Mass, I am happy for you that you join. I am happy for me that you join. Because whether we're fully aware of it or not, I do believe that something good deepens within each of us and also among us because of our time with Sunday Mass.